I'm Kayla.
And I'm Christian.
And you're watching What's Her Angle.
Here we strive to elevate you spiritually and practically through meaningful conversations. Hello, everyone. We hope you guys are feeling great. This year is wrapping up so quickly. Yes. I feel like every time we come back to see y'all, there's so much time that has passed. And there are so many different things that have been going on. And typically at the end of the year, we talk about seasonal depression. We talk about keeping your spirits up. We talk about just being grateful for the year, thinking back on the things that we've learned. And this time I feel like we're doing something similar, but we're also focusing on getting into gear at the end of the year. Instead of just kind of succumbing to the seasonal depression and just being like, I'm going to be down, I'm going to be inside, let me just focus on making myself feel better. I feel like since we experience this every year, we can kind of learn from those past experiences and do something different this time. So we're going to be talking about switching the gears to level up, and basically how you can switch your trajectory, your path, and just kind of make these important pivots in these moments where maybe you would usually want to take a break or usually, take some time away from everything. Since we kind of always experience these things, since we kind of can know what to expect, this is the perfect time to say, you know what, I'm not going to let these blues get to me. I already know what's coming around the corner. Let me figure out how I can switch my gears a little bit so I can really have an actual New Year's resolution. So I can really step into the new year with a different energy. And I feel, we always are kind of like stumbling into the new year trying to catch up with the things that we want to do. So if we start early, if we get started around, this time, I definitely think we'll be able to create a great plan. So let's just get right into the tea, guys. So the first thing that we're going to be getting into is basically, like I was saying, using your past experiences. So we know every year around the holidays, we're stressing about money, we're stressing about travel, we're thinking about family members that we've lost, friends that we've lost, creating new traditions, there's just all of this anxiety about things that, you didn't get to do last Christmas. So let's say, for example, you wanted to take a trip or you wanted to do something for New Year's Eve or do something different for Thanksgiving and you didn't do it because of funds, timing, whatever the case may be. You could constantly be thinking about those things now. Like, I didn't take that trip last year. Am I going to do it this time? It could be giving you anxiety, just stressing you out, just all of the thoughts that we know are coming up. So you already know how you have been feeling. You already know what you typically experience at the end of the year. If you have family drama that goes on at the end of the year, this year is probably not gonna be no different. If you feel like you stress a lot about money, and we all have been stressing about money this year,
right? Inflation is crazy,
literally.
Right now.
So traveling, gifts, all of that stuff, and things are a lot, different now. Like, I don't know why, but I feel like as we get more and more like techno with everything, like the AI stuff, the virtual reality stuff, it's going to be way more expensive to buy people gifts. Like, people are going to want like tech stuff for their house, like that's going to be the new thing. Even with this iPhone 15 child, like even like the PS5 that everybody was talking about, they're coming out with another one. Like, so there's always something new, and I feel like it's only getting more and more expensive. So all of that stress, start thinking about how you can combat that and create systems that work for you rather than dealing with the same stress. So really think about what you experience every year. For me, I know I usually think about the projects or the things that I wanted to do that I didn't get to do or that I ran out of time with on my calendar. So instead of feeling bad about that, maybe I can start planning for next year in advance. Maybe I can start being proactive about what I want to do. If I feel like, I always want to do something really, really big for a certain family member or a certain friend, or even if, I've been wanting to get a Christmas tree every year, still ain't get a Christmas tree yet, so it's like, if I know that's something I want to do, instead of, being upset that, oh, I didn't do it next year, maybe next year, why don't I start doing it now? Why don't I start looking now instead of getting into that space and then feeling the same feelings that I already felt last year? Like, I think if we use the past experiences, we can kind of help ourselves from falling into the same stuff over and over and over again. So do you feel like there's certain stuff that you stress about at the end of the year? And especially you with your birthday,
I know,
like your birthday is in the fall. So that's even, more stress because you're thinking about, are my friends going to be able to do this? Am I going to be impending on people's plans? So what's some stuff that you feel like is always on your mind at the end of the year?
I definitely think you're right about the birthday situation because my birthday kind of lands right after Thanksgiving, but also before Christmas. And there's always that little voice in my head like who's gonna be able to make it, you know, did I tell everybody in time? Because a lot of people do a lot of planning and pre-planning for Thanksgiving well in advance, and because it's Black Friday, you know, they have their funds already tied up into certain things. And you know, the good thing is I don't get that upset about people not being able to make it to my birthday, but I also have to make sure, you know, I'm telling people ahead of time so they can plan properly. So to me, it's like the birthday thing is kind of like a what if, you know, I don't know. I kind of will just see what happens. And, you know, it's been working out, but honestly, this birthday is such a big deal for me. We've been planning for our 30th for such a long time, and it really is giving me anxiety, especially because there's so many moving parts when you're planning an actual trip. There's not too many times I've done a trip for my birthday, but since I'm turning 30 soon, I mean, you know, you just have to go big or you have to go home. So that is like one of the biggest things that gives me anxiety at the end of the year. But also, just like you said, like thinking about the things that I didn't get to do and didn't be able to accomplish, you know. What I have been doing is really just taking the time out to really give myself grace, because generally speaking, if you didn't get to it, it's not because it wasn't important. And just for me, it was important. I just had other factors that came up that kind of like made me reprioritize my time, you know, my energy. And for me, you know, I have to kind of give myself grace and also just think back and say, it's okay when you don't get things done. As long as something doesn't go all off and you were supposed to get to it, I feel like you just have to honestly just let yourself breathe, give yourself the space to, you know, feel bad about it, and then also make a plan like you've been saying. So, you know, it's all about preparation and planning. And, you know, the good thing about switching gears is it's never a bad time to do it. So I think having this opportunity, especially at the end of the year, is just perfect because, you know, you really get the time to, you might be dwindling down on work gets a little less hectic, you know, depending on your industry. I know a lot of people like beauty people and people that are in the, you know, entertainment and the
probably
beauty,
photography and stuff too.
People, you know, in those spaces, this is probably like your biggest and your busiest year. So, or time frame. And so, you know, like depending on your industry, of course, like, but, you know, switching gears is just, it's never a wrong time to do so. And you just have to really give yourself grace to do it. So those are my thoughts around planning and like switching gears. But, you know, a lot of times we talk about switching gears and we talk about a lot of things that we do because we didn't get a chance to do so. But I also want to talk about the opportunities of building relationships or even having relationships with people and feeling like you're doing a lot to please other people and not pleasing yourself. And I think, you know, a lot of times when we talk about the holidays, we're doing a lot of things, just like you mentioned, like you're thinking about other people, you're thinking about yourself, you know, and that sometimes is very overwhelming, especially as, you know, a people pleaser. You feel like you have to make everybody happy. And I am very guilty of this, you know, when it comes to this time of year, I'm always thinking about, you know, other people. I'm thinking about the gifts I want to give them. I'm thinking about, you know, and I overthink gifts hugely. And I've said this a lot of times in other videos where, you know, gifts weren't my thing. And now that I've gotten into gifts, you know, I've started to realize, like, I really enjoy giving gifts that I feel like compliment someone's personality or whatever they're doing, which, you know, that's what a good gift giver does. But when you're not a good gift giver, you know, or you don't think you are, you start really overthinking. And, you know, especially if you have like people pleasing tendencies, it can also kind of get you into a space where you're not, you know, you feel overwhelmed and you honestly may be complacent or just not doing anything. The thing is about being a people pleaser is you really have to understand that the more you think about other people, the less you think about yourself. And that's not fair to anyone, because just as like my therapist said, you know, just like when you're on an airplane, you have the person on the intercom tells you have to, you know, give yourself oxygen first before you help other people. And I think you have to apply this with your own battles or your challenges when you have people pleasing tendencies. You have to think about, okay, if I'm not giving my full self to me, how can I give my full self to someone else? They're not getting everything from me.
Yeah.
And I think that's just so important to realize, especially at the end of the year when we're thinking about ensuring people are happy, they're healthy, you know, make sure you're healthy, make sure you're happy, because seasonal depression, you know, it's truly a thing, and you have to realize and get in front of it, and you have to make sure that you're happy for you, you're there for you before you be there for anyone else. So what are your thoughts about like people pleasing? Have you had any tendencies of people pleasing? You know, do you feel like, if you haven't had any tendencies, like what would you just give someone, what advice would you give someone who does have people pleasing tendencies?
I would probably just, you know, definitely piggyback off of what you said. Just, you can't really give anything to anybody if you're not taken care of, you know, and we see this being true in so many spaces, in relationships, you know, even as parents, you know, we see so many children suffer because the parents aren't happy, you know, and we always say, like, when people talk about divorce and stuff, well, you know, it's better for the parents to be happy than just to try to keep the family together so the kids suffer. So I think we can just see that that's true in so many areas of your life. And also just thinking about who you are when you're taking care of yourself, thinking about who you are when you're making time for what you need, and then thinking about who you are when you have a lot of birthdays coming up or a lot of events coming up or a lot of stuff on your to-do list. It's like you said, you can be overwhelmed. You can feel like, you know what, I'm just gonna, you know, sit this holiday out. And there's nothing wrong with doing that, but it's the worst when that wasn't your intention. And you have to do that because you feel defeated. You know, you don't want to allow the end of the year to defeat you, because it definitely can and will sometimes. And I think it's just important to be mindful of what you need at the end of the year and make sure that whatever you're doing is supporting that. So for me, in terms of gifts, just because I typically don't really see anybody around the holidays except for, you know, like my family. If I'm home for my family, I really just get something for my mother, honey. And everybody else can just catch me outside. You know, I do really nice things for birthdays, you know what I'm saying? But for Christmas, I really just try to make sure that, you know, I take care of my mom. I give my mom something. I might do something for my grandmother if I'm going to be seeing her. But I really just try to keep it simple. You know what I'm saying? And if I have friends that want to come together and we want to do a dinner or like a Friendsgiving or something, then we could do something like that. But it doesn't have to be over the top. Nothing ever has to be over the top. And just like you said, giving yourself grace, nothing has to be anything. Like, there is not a play-by-play about how you have to do the holidays, how you have to do the end of the year, how you have to do your friend groups, your relationships at the end of the year. Like, I think it's normal to need a break. I think it's normal to ask for a break. I think it's normal to, you know, take this time to be like, I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm feeling stressed, I'm feeling burnt out, because for a lot of people who don't have close relationships with their family, the end of the year can be very stressful because you feel pressure to show up. You feel pressure to go to the events. You feel pressure to go to their house. And even if you're not going to do it, you'll still have anxiety because you're like, everybody's going to get together and they're going to take pictures and they're going to have such a good time. I'm not going to be there. Like, it's so many different things that go on in your head at the end of the year. Even, you know, if you have to do something with your coworkers at the end of every year for like a Christmas thing and you're uncomfortable about that. So I always think it's good to just take into account everything you're experiencing and make sure that you allow your friend group to kind of support you in that, versus being like, I'm gonna give everybody gifts, I'm gonna go to everybody's event, I'm gonna do this, and this. It's like, just ask yourself what you want, because you might not even be that kind of person for the holidays. Like, that might not even be your thing. So just really tapping in with you, figuring out what you want, I think is super, super important, because you know, your needs change and what you want to, you know, do changes. So, you know, just don't feel any pressure. Just take the pressure off of you. I think releasing the pressure is the best and the easiest way to, you know, switch gears. And even like you were saying, not feeling, you know, like everybody has to be obligated to show up for you for your birthday stuff. We shouldn't feel obligated to do anything else either. Like, that goes both ways. It's like, if you have to take a day off, if your friends need a day off, whatever the case may be, just be open about that, you know, and, you know, make sure that you put your energy first, because it's a rough time for everybody. And, you know, the winter with the weather, you know, we're going to have snow this year, all kind of crazy snow. The weather is going to be crazy. People are going to be sick. So, and that happens every year, but it kind of gets crazier each and every year. So it's just important to think about what you're going to be needing and focus on that. And, you know, have conversations with the people in your life. Ask them how you're doing. Do y'all want to get together this month? Y'all want to get together? I know the holidays are going to be crazy. And just kind of be proactive. Like, being proactive is definitely something that I'm trying to do. Like, if I know some stress is coming, let me be proactive and try to handle this now before I get to that point. Because I know what happened last year and the year before that and the year before that when I didn't do anything different. So let me try to do something different now so I feel better when I get to that end point. So yeah, and I think that just kind of brings us into our last point of just changing the narrative and, you know, doing things differently, because something that I feel we all do as humans is we all experience, I don't know if it's ignorance or stupidity, where we do the same thing and expect a different result. I think that time just causes us to not feel that way, but it's like a lot of times we can be, you know, like, let's say, for example, the first day of school or when you're starting a new semester, student, I know, you know, when you're starting a new semester, you're looking through everybody's syllabus, you're figuring out how much time you need for each class, you're organizing everything. If you know that stresses you out and that overwhelms you, why wait for the last like 72 hours before class starts to do that? Like, when you know, let me plan ahead, let me get organized, let me make sure I'm starting to sleep early. Like, whenever we were going back to school, you know, growing up, like the last week, couple weeks of summer, y'all start going to bed early. Y'all start waking up early. Exactly. Like, start getting ready. If you know what's anticipating, you know, if you can anticipate what's coming for you, just start preparing for it, because that's how you change the narrative. That's how you change how you feel about a season, about a month, about anything that you're celebrating. Like, even, you know, like another example, let's say, for example, you know, you have a birthday like Kayla has. You have a birthday, and let's say a lot of people are really, really busy on, you know, that birthday. Maybe your birthday is Christmas Eve or Christmas Day or right around that time. And you typically spend your birthday alone, or you typically don't really do much because the money ain't there and you don't really have that many friends. If you know that's coming, how can you start to celebrate yourself now? How can you start to plan to do something great for yourself? Even if it's just take yourself to dinner or, you know, just do like a movie night, but get all of your favorite movies and just do something to take that time out for you. Like, just being intentional about it is going to change so many things, because even if you're intentional about it, you can be like, you know what, for this year, for New Year's, I'm going to do some journaling. I'm going to take a bath. I'm going to do a self-care night. That can set you up for a good year. Like, that can really set you up if you do it with the right intention. So just take the power of your own life, take your power back and change the narrative. You are the one that decides, this is what stresses me out. This is what helps me out. And just like Kayla was saying earlier, don't feel like you have to show up for everybody. Don't feel like that makes you a good friend. Don't let anyone guilt trip you into doing something or being in a space that isn't comfortable for you. And just remember that you're the one that's writing your story, and whatever you feel would make you feel better or pour it into you in a different way that you've been looking for, and set the intention to step into that space. But don't feel pressured to step into anything. Like, I think that's going to be the biggest way that we, you know, switch our gears and we do the end of the year differently. Just changing the narrative and, you know, letting your feelings, only your feelings, kind of set the tone for what you're doing and where you go.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I feel like, just going back into your first point of like changing even like your routine is so important. And I say that because, you know, a lot of times when people have anxiety, it's because they're repetitively doing the same things and not getting the results that they're looking for. And so for my example here, I started saying I am going to get up early in the morning and start really like tackling my day early to ensure like I have the downtime that I need to feel like, okay, you know, I'm not just transitioning straight into sleep after I stop working or stop moving around. Like, I really enjoy having downtime, and I really enjoy having like that peacefulness that kind of like allows me to drift into sleep.
So you can
not
wind
just
down.
And feel like my day, I fulfilled my day, or my day has been, you know,
like it comes to a close
versus it's like, you know, okay, now we're waking up and we doing this all over again. And I know that's very challenging for a lot of people who are go. But I truly recommend, as a go person myself, you know, I used to get so frustrated, not feeling like, okay, I feel fragile. Like, let me try to do something. Let me try to, you know, do things that honestly wasn't necessary for my day, but I felt like I needed to be continuously active, but I felt very burnt out and just honestly tired after multiple nights of doing, things that really wasn't necessary for me to like rest and be able to relax the way I need to be. And so one of the things I started doing, I said, okay, I'm gonna start waking up early. I'm gonna try to be a 6 a.m. girly. And at first it was challenging because I would wake up, but I would go straight back to sleep. Just because your body is not used to that. But you know what I started doing? I started saying, okay, if I'm gonna be up, I can, even if, my goal was to journal and, pray and, do my, have my slow mornings, without phones. Maybe I still need to do this right quick, so I can get adjusted to my mind saying, okay, I'm going to wake up early. So when I started waking up early, I would, get on my phone, I wouldn't have like set things to do. Yeah. It was just more of a mental thing, like getting myself prepared to do these type of things. And then once I felt like, okay, I have hit this goal, I feel comfortable like waking up and not falling back to sleep or not feeling tired, then I can say, okay, 5 minutes throughout, from 6 to 7, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do some yoga, or I might look at my phone. Just limiting yourself slowly can help your mind. It really trains your mind to say, okay, I can do this. Yeah. So now, what's next? What's the new challenge?
You can
what's the
push it little by little versus everything.
Versus. Because I feel like a lot of people get overwhelmed when they try to do something so quick, and it's like, okay, I feel so frazzled. But I feel like training your mind and getting your mind acquainted with the things that you want to do and having that goal, ultimately, you know where you want to be at. And most people know where they want to be at. They just feel overwhelmed and feel like they can't do it. And I feel like just controlling that narrative, taking the time out to really slow yourself down. There is nothing to be trying to get there super fast. You always have control over everything that you do. You have control over the time, you have control over your actions, you have control over your emotions. And it's really important for you to understand that, because that's how you can control the narrative. And so my last point here is just honestly just allow yourself to slow down, as the season draws to an end and we are closing out the year. Really take time to evaluate where you are, where you want to go, and where you see yourself in the future. And that's going to be the most important step, so you can ensure you can control your narrative, you can control your anxiety, you can control your seasonal depression. It's all about making sure that you're prepared and you ensure that you are ready to tackle the challenges that you face, in previous times. So I hope that this episode and this conversation was really helpful to you in learning more about yourself and actually being able to control your narrative and switch gears, which is what we truly want you to do in 2024. So ladies, we hope that you subscribe and like this video. Make sure that you share it, and also come to Instagram and follow us for more information and more tea. Okay, so we'll see you guys soon. Bye ladies.